Okay, hello and welcome back to my Dandelion Diaries. We're continuing on with some ink exploration business, and this is going to be part 2 of the metallics. So part 1 was silver inks last week. This week we're doing gold inks, which is actually a personal favorite category of mine. And we're going to be doing 24 inks because of that. I pulled every single gold or goldish or golden color that I had in my collection, and we're going to swatch all of them, and it's 24 of them, which is a lot. I'm going to quickly go over supplies really quick, and then we're just going to jump straight in. I have some that are non-shimmer and then the rest that are shimmer, so we'll do non-shimmers first and then end off with shimmers just so I can save my water as much as I can. But supplies, I am still in my A5 Hobonichi blank notebook here with 52 GSM sans and paper. I have like maybe 20 pages left in this bad boy. It is not going to last me for the rest of the year at all. So probably gonna have to get a new notebook. Anyways, I'm gonna use this Olive Frogs Designs sample holder. I love these. I love how you can collect them. They're like $2 and you can just make a whole little army of puzzle pieces. Anyways, that's what this is from. And then I'm gonna be using a B1 speedball nib today to do the swatches. Since I have to do so many, it's just easier for me to use one pen versus multiple tools. And this is on a River City Pen Company nib holder in the Wanderlust Abalone by Tim at Turnt Pen Co. I love this thing. It's yes. And then I'm going to be doing a bit smaller writing with this Sailor Hokoro dip pen with a Fude nib. And tragedy struck this bad boy. I dropped it, and this back piece won't stay on anymore. So we had a good run. It made it a really long time, but I did order another one of these, at least the body, because the nibs are interchangeable. So I will be hopefully sharing that once it arrives. I got the brush tip, y'all. I'm really excited. Anyways, let's jump into this. I'm going to be rambling a lot. Probably grab yourself a drink or watch this in segments, maybe some snacks, you know, just have a little ink movie. It's fine. Yeah, we're going to start with J. Herbin, and this is Ambre de Birmaine. And this is, I'd say, a golden ink that's a bit more orangey, maybe? I don't know. I'd say this ink has a few tones in it, but orangey is, I guess, what first comes into my mind. It's definitely more of like an orange gold or an older gold kind of look. In writing, it is much lighter than in swatching or like artistry. Usually with a paintbrush with this, it has really beautiful shading, and it works well as like an older gold colors is kind of what I would picture. My biggest gripe with Herbin inks is they are fairly dry. I usually have a really hard time finding a pen that works well with them. I'm not the biggest fan of the brand, but they do okay if you have a pen that's really, really juicy and you want it to write finer. So my best bet would be something that maybe like a Pelican or even maybe a Banu pen that writes really well. You might be able to get the ink to flow a little bit better, but in my experience, these inks are pretty limited for me because they are so dry. Next up, we have an ink from a Diamine ink vent. This one I believe is from the green version from 2022, and it's actually one of my favorite yellow inks, and this is Three Kings. And I call this one a bit more yellow because in the shading that it has this warm kind of candlelit honey yellow color going on, but in the deeper shading it's a bit more of like a rough gold. So this one to me is again kind of more of an older gold color. It's much more yellow than the Herbin ink, and the flow is much better on this one. But to me, this is, I don't know, I would definitely say this is my pick for a gold color that has no shimmer. There's maybe like one other ink in my non-shimmer golds that I would prefer over this, but it's one of my favorite yellows out there for sure. Next up, I'm gonna include Pilot Iroshizuku's Ina Ho. I know this isn't necessarily a gold ink, but it is a gold-ish color, and I kind of want to include this just to compare it to a couple of other inks that I pulled. So we're gonna put it down just because. Plus, it's a classic. This is a golden ink for me, even if it isn't a pure gold color. Gosh, just swatching this ink makes me sad. This ink is sadly discontinued. It was beloved by many in the community and kind of has this hype around it now, I guess. It's just a very unique color that behaves really well in pens, which most of the Pilot Iroshizuku line does anyways. But gold wise, I feel like this is a bit more of a brown gold. it's a darker gold. So if we were to, you know, again, kind of like an artistry aspect, we have a darker shade here. So this could be maybe more of a shadowed golden ring or the shadows of a crown, whatever it is you're working with that's you're wanting to be gold. I feel like this is a really great deeper color that could add a little bit of range to the golden hue that you're going for. Next up, we have Vinta's Bronze Yellow, which is kind of close to both of these, so I'm kind of interested to see how it turns out. Okay, so this one is slightly more yellow than the Ina Ho, but about the same depth of hue, so a bit darker. I'd say it's like a darker version of the Three Kings, just slightly more yellow too. The shading in this ink though, phenomenal. Even in a very fine nibbed pen, I find that this ink shades beautifully. I honestly kind of, it reminds me of like a lion color, like this, the fur of a lion in Africa, or I don't know, it just gives me that kind of African yellow color to it. It's beautiful, very well done. I will say with Vinta inks, there has been a lot of discussion about how their bottles do evaporate. I sadly have experienced this myself, so I usually get samples of Vinta inks, or if I purchase a bottle, I rebottle it pretty much immediately. So yeah, it just, you know, user be warned that if you get a Vinta ink, it may evaporate in the bottle. So there's my 2 cents for that. Next up, we have one of many Van Dieman inks that I'm going to be doing today, and this is part of their underwater line, and this one is Neptune's Necklace. And I actually started with a sample of this ink first and immediately loved it so much that I bought a bottle, and later learned that the name of this ink is from a seaweed that is close to where Van Diemen's is located. And I think that's so cool. It's super fascinating. The color of this though is very similar to some of the others we've already swatched. I'd say it's a bit darker than Three Kings, but similar in tone, and then it's a bit more of like that yellow brown, again kind of like a deeper gold color, but not as deep as the bronze yellow or Ina Ho. And the shading in this ink is wonderful. Again, I think if we had to pick some favorites here, it would be really tough, but I prefer this one over Three Kings, even though Three Kings is my favorite, like, or one of my favorite yellows. I prefer Neptune's Necklace a bit more, but it is a bit more of a lighter brown versus a yellow. Yeah, shading wise is really, really good on this though. That's probably one of my favorite sellers for this ink, is that the shading is so nice. I will say it is a tad bit dry, so depending on what pen you use it with, it may have a bit more resistance in coming out or drawing a thinner line with it being a bit drier, but it is still very lovely, and I feel like it's not as bad as some of the other drier inks out there, you know, looking at you, Herbin, up in the corner. Next up, we have probably the best dupe I would have. I don't know. It's so close. This is Tiger Snake, again by Van Diemen's, and it's from the Tassie Seasons line. Thank you to whoever corrected me on Tassie versus Tassie. But this ink is very, very close to Ina Ho. And I don't know. I have to swatch them next to each other. So in writing, this one turns a bit more, I'd say, greener gold. It's not as yellow gold as I would like, but it is very, very close to Pilot Iroshizuku's Ina Ho, and I wanted to include it because of that. And again, we need a bit more of like a darker gold shading aspect to this line, or this color family, because it's a range, right? We need lights to darks here, and Tiger Snake is a really great fit for me. I think it doesn't fit firmly with gold, but it does have a golden color. It might be slightly too green for this. We'll see after everything dries how well it blends with everything else, but I really like this ink as a dupe for Ina Ho, especially for those who couldn't try Ina Ho when it was around. This Tiger Snake ink is very similar. It's just slightly more yellow and slightly more green, more yellow green if that, but yeah, it just behaves really well and also has really nice shading too. And next we have an ink that has to be in this category, and that is KWZ's Old Gold. I feel like you can't have a gold ink exploration without this ink. It's just a classic. And with that, I feel like this ink is a really great representation of a golden ink without shimmer. That is all of the non-shimmering gold inks that I have, and I think out of all of them, this KWZ's Old Gold is the most golden. But I do have to mention that the KWZ inks do have a scent to them, and that is why it is not in my top, because I'm very sensitive to smells. So KWZ has a bit of a vanilla scent. It is very nice, it's very pleasant, but it is kind of strong. So if you're sensitive to smell like me, you might be able to use this ink for a short period of time, but over a long period of time, you might get a headache with this one. I will say they have another ink by KWZ called It Smells Like Coffee. That ink, for some reason, does not give me any trouble at all. And maybe it's because I really like the smell of coffee, and it smells very much like an espresso almost. I don't know, but this one does have a vanilla scent. Have to put it out there. But gold-wise, this would probably be the winner of the non-shimmering golds, just because the base color is, I don't know, very firmly yellow and brown in a golden range. All right, let's get started with some shimmering golds. This one is probably no surprise, but this is Diamine's Shimmertastic Golden Sands, which is, I think, one of the most popular golden inks out there. I don't know. And maybe it is considered one of the most popular because of the color. It's very yellow, but also very golden. It's soft. To me, this is like the, 14 karat, 18 karat gold color of like some nice jewelry. Maybe even if you were wanting to do some artistry with like a crown or a tiara, queens or kings. Even if you want to do like Christmas bells, I feel like this is a good golden color for that. It's just a nice soft golden color. I do find this one to be a little illegible for me in writing. But it writes really well. The flow on this ink is fantastic. I find that with most of the Diamine Shimmertastic line, the flow on those inks are just superb with the shimmer. I'm always impressed. Every new one that I try, I'm always impressed. But the color of this is definitely a golden color. With the golden shimmer, with the kind of soft yellow golden base, it blends beautifully, and it just looks really nice. I think this is a really great golden ink, and that is why it is probably a favorite, among most people. Keeping up with Diamine, I'm going to do Fortune's Gold, and this one I believe is from the purple Inkvent 2 years ago, 2023 I think, and this one's similar to Golden Sands, but it has this duochromed shimmer, and it is maybe a little bit more green. And this one is definitely illegible for me, like to the max illegible. I can't read this one when I'm writing. I really struggle with this. But color-wise, it's beautiful. It is a bit more, like I said, of a lighter gold color that's a little bit greener. And I think that mainly has to do with the shimmer, since the duochrome shimmer is almost like a teal to gold situation. It's kind of hard to describe. Hopefully the camera will pick up most of the color hues on this one, but I think it's really nice for a lighter, more yellow green gold. I don't know, maybe like of a fire or some other kind of white gold jewelry. It's just a nice lighter, more yellow gold color, and I feel like it needs to be here because of that. I don't think this is a favorite for me by any means, just because it is so light, but I like the unique color combination, and I think it's, just a fun ink to play around with if you did get the Inkvent. I don't think this one's a full bottle for me at all, but if you like this one, I hope you're loving it. And keeping up with Diamine, I think this is the last Diamine one I have, actually. Oh, no, it's not. I have one more after this, but I'll save it for the end. Anyways, this is another Diamine Inkvent ink. It's Salted Caramel. This is from last year's Black Inkvent, and it is just a beautiful, nice golden brown color. And I think initially when I first saw this ink in the Black Inkvent, I was not very wowed by it, just because I feel like I've seen this color so many times over and over again. But this ink is beautiful. It is a nice kind of more sandy based color with the golden shimmer that's just flat. It's just a flat golden shimmer. There's no chromo or anything on this one. It's just a really nice inclusion for this category. I think I have some other inks that are very similar to this one, and that's why it's not just like, wow. But I know this was many people's, favorite ink, or one of their favorite inks from the Black Inkvent. So I wanted to include it because it is golden, and it's a nice addition to the maybe more soft, darker gold colors in this range. And with that, I'm going to move on into Monarca's Rey Jaguar. This sample is courtesy of pen friend Priscilla. Thank you so much for sending me this. Unfortunately, I don't think this ink is available anymore. At least when I've tried to search to find more of it, I haven't found any luck. So I think this might be a discontinued ink or just a limited run ink. And the color of this ink is very similar to that of Diamine's Golden Sands, but it's a bit more, I'd say, muted. and has different shading. So Golden Sands I feel like is a bit more yellow, whereas I feel like Rey Jaguar is actually a bit more gold. Maybe it has like a beige yellow to it. Maybe that's what makes it a little bit more soft. I don't know. It's beautiful. Consistency of this ink too is beautiful. Shimmer in this ink, beautiful. It's a great golden color. If anybody can find this ink for sale anywhere, definitely drop it down in the comments, because I feel like it needs to be in more people's hands. It's beautiful, and I'm very grateful to Priscilla for sending me the sample because it's stunning, and I think it's a really nice golden color. Next, we have a Ferris wheel press ink, one of a few I think I have lined up here, and this is Sparkling Champagne. It's one of their older releases, and again, I'm not sure if this one is available anymore, but I wanted to compare it to maybe some of the inks here that are still available. Now, this ink is a bit more yellow gold, I would say, and the shimmer in it is a bit softer, more of like the champagne name that it's calling for. So I think the naming on this is very well done. I do think it is a bit more of like a champagne gold color. However, it is also very light. I can't read this one in writing, similar to that of the Golden Sands and the Fortune's Gold. Even the Rey Jaguar, I feel like these inks are very light in this corner. But if I were to pick the most legible out of all four of these, it's probably going to be the Golden Sands. But Sparkling Champagne, again, goldish color, a bit more soft, a bit more muted, and slightly more yellow. I think it's beautiful. It's kind of just like a softer golden color, similar to Rey Jaguar. It's just a little bit more yellow, I would say. Next up is a newer Ferris wheel press ink, and this one is called Age of Aurum. I think this is part of their Midas collection they did, and it is a bit more of a darker gold color, so very legible. So again, a bit more of a darker color for this. It's definitely a deeper brown base color, maybe medium brown with this golden shimmer. I think it looks lovely. Unfortunately, the sample that I have isn't like super full of shimmer, so it's not super shimmery, but I think this color is beautiful, again, for a darker gold color or a deeper, kind of more shading aspect to the gold range. It's beautiful. The flow on this one's pretty okay as well, and I don't know, it's nice. I wanted to include some deeper colors, and that's why this one's here. Keeping on trend with deeper colors, and honestly this is my favorite gold ink of all time, of all of the ones I have tried. This is Robert Oster's Heart of Gold. I just find with this one, it looks like liquid gold. I don't know, there's something about it. Yeah, I'm gonna shake this up really quick because it's gonna take a minute. The only downside I find to this ink is that the glitter is a bit chunky, which is why it takes a minute to get the shimmer dispersed. But I have actually not had this clog in a pen. Probably because the pen I use this ink with is got a has a massive feed on it. It's the Jinhao X159. It is a massive pen with a massive feed and a massive nib, and it just handles this ink like a champ, and it's probably my favorite pen to put this ink into. Yeah, but this ink is gold. It's the base of it's like a deeper color, a deeper yellow brown, and the gold shimmer, being as chunky as it is, just sits on top of it so beautifully and makes it look like you're writing with liquid gold. It's just, I don't know, it's my favorite gold ink. I don't know, the other Robert Oster inks, like the silver or sterling silver and then the rose gold Antiqua, do not behave at all the way this one does. So I don't know if those inks just have a different flow with the base of the ink or something. I don't know, but Heart of Gold hands down is my favorite of the trio, and is definitely my favorite gold ink. Yeah, I'll say that with my full chest, it is my favorite gold ink. We're gonna take a break from maybe like true golden colors, and I wanted to include two of these inks that are a bit, I'd say, legible. They're legible, okay? And the first one here is Diamine's Cocoa Shimmer. So this is a brown ink, a deep brown ink with a very nice gold shimmer on it. In writing, it pulls a bit of both, so it's kind of like a deeper brown gold color. So I wanted to include this, and then I'll talk about the other ink here in just a second. So like I mentioned with Diamine's Cocoa Shimmer, I realize it's a brown ink with gold shimmer, so it may not be really gold, but I wanted to include some very legible options because gold is kind of a hard color to pinpoint with a legible ink, and this ink is very legible. I love the gold shimmer with this. I love the flow of this ink. It's phenomenal. The first time I tried this ink, I immediately was like, yes, it is wonderful. Flow, shimmer, color, hands down. Yeah, it was in my top 5, I think, for 2024. I love this ink. But golden wise, it's mainly just the shimmer that's pulling it into this category for me. But again, I wanted to include some very legible options, and this is one of my top picks. And with that, the other very legible option here is a Vinta ink that I have repackaged into an old jar. Anyways, this is Vinta's Burnt Sugar, right? I think it's Burnt Sugar. It's like it's Arnibal, but I want to say it's like Burnt Sugar. Yeah, Vinta's Burnt Sugar, Arnibal 1856. Sorry, I cannot read. But this is similar to Cocoa Shimmer in that it is a deeper brown ink, but it has this gorgeous golden shimmer in it that disperses really well. So again, much like the Diamine Cocoa Shimmer, the base of this ink is a darker brown color, but with the golden shimmer that's mixed in, I think it just looks beautiful. It's a very legible ink with a very great gold shimmer in it, and I wanted to include it again because we need some decent, you know, darker colors here that are actually legible for writing that still give that kind of golden hue. This ink flows beautifully. It has a bit of a green sheen to it as well, which is kind of unique. And yeah, it's just really nice. I think if I had to pick between Cocoa Shimmer and the Burnt Sugar, I'd still pick the Cocoa Shimmer. But this Burnt Sugar ink is very pretty, and I definitely wanted to include it as, again, more of a legible color. Okay, let's move on back into some golden inks. This one is by Journalize, and I'm not a huge fan of this brand just because of the price point, but I had to get this ink, and it's a very recent purchase because it's called Orion. Orion Dreamy Stars is the full name, but I've been reading Zodiac Academy, and Orion is one of my favorite characters, and so I got this ink for him, even though he's a fictional man. Anyways, this ink is absolutely stunning. Okay, so I know when I initially swatched this down, it's not going to look super gold, but I want you to hear me out, okay? So I'm putting this ink in the golden category because one of the aspects of gold is white gold. And this ink has a bit more of like a yellow beigey base with a silvery shimmer. But when they mix together, it almost looks like white gold. I have not written with this ink yet, so I cannot attest how it performs in a pen or anything like that, but the few swatches that I've done and a little bit of like doodles with like a dip pen, it's been beautiful. It's been so much fun. I'm adoring this ink. Like I said though, I have a big gripe with Journalize just for the price point. Even a sample of their inks are basically the price of a full bottle of some other inks. I just feel like their pricing is really high for the amount of ink that you're getting. And I haven't really found anything so spectacular about these inks that they're worth that price point to me. I only have a couple of samples by them just because I love the names of the ink, but I can't see myself purchasing a full bottle of these inks just because of the price point at which they're at. Next, we have a sample from Allison over at Little Coco Studio. Thank you so much for sending this to me. I've still been enjoying this ink. This is Ferris Press's Bookkeeper's Brass. And I thought about putting this one in like its own little separate category, but it's pretty golden, so I feel like it deserves to be here in the golden category. And the base of this ink is a bit more of like a sandy color, kind of like that of the Salted Caramel or the Monarca's Rey Jaguar on the other page. It's a bit lighter and a bit more tan, but the shimmer in this is a bit more yellow gold, I would say. It's not quite brass to me, maybe like brand new brass, like super shiny trumpet brass. But the color of this is a bit more of like a deeper gold, a bit more of like a shadowed gold, an older gold color. Actually saying that, it's kind of like the shimmery version of KWZ's Old Gold. I don't know. It's beautiful though. Very nice. The flow on this one's really good too, and the shimmer is really well dispersed. Yeah, this is a winner from Ferris Press for sure. Next, I have probably the lightest ink out of all of these, and this one's from Wearingeul. It is Psyche Poly. This is a discontinued ink from them, I think from one of their Korean lines, but it's very interesting, and I just want to compare it, honestly. That's why this one's here. So the base color of this one is a bit more of like a pale yellow. It reminds me a lot of the sun from Teletubbies, which is a show I used to watch as a very little child. But yeah, I don't know why that just came straight into my head. Anyways, Psyche Poly has this very interesting, almost iridescent shimmer in it, which is originally what drew me to it in the first place. But after playing around with it for a little bit, it is too light. It is very, very light. It's lighter than Fortune's Gold to me, and yeah. It's beautiful though. I think if you wanted to use this for artistry, you'd have a lot of fun, especially making like clothing with this ink. I feel like if you drew like some really cute cashmere sweaters with this, or even like some high heels in this color, I don't know, it's giving that. Or if you mixed it with sparkling champagne, you could probably make a really fun cocktail colored with this ink. It's beautiful. Flow is really good too, which is surprising considering it is a lighter ink. It's very nice. It is kind of golden. It's just really, really light. Yeah. Next we have probably my second favorite actually golden ink, and this is from Van Diemen's. Again, Van Diemen's just kills it with a lot of the golden inks for some reason. This is Hastings Caves, or Hastings Caves. Yeah, both plural. Hastings Caves from the Wilderness series. And I think this is my other favorite gold because it is very yellow. So it's more of a yellow gold. And it does look lighter than Golden Sands, but I find that it's better shading. I don't know how that works out in my brain, but for some reason, Hastings Caves I can read, Golden Sands I struggle with. I don't know, make it make sense. But the shading in Van Diemen's Hastings Caves goes almost to a orange halo, and maybe that's why I can read it a bit more. It's kind of hard to describe. The shimmer in this is a softer gold too. It's almost like a champagne-y color, has hints of silver in it. It's really, really pretty. I like this one for, I would say, a bright golden color, maybe more of like golden jewelry, or softer gold tones. Heart of Gold is definitely more of like royalty gold, like crowns or golden armor. Again, more of like that deeper golden color, but legibility wise, Heart of Gold's gonna win over Hastings Caves just because of how deep it is. But I'm getting off track here. Hastings Caves is definitely a golden color, a bit more yellow with some orangey outline, and just has a really nice glittering appearance, like a star. Like it's just a nice shimmery star-like ink. Next we have the final Ferris Press ink, and this is Plaited Gold Tress. This ink and I have some stories. So I was originally gifted this bottle of ink from Ferris Press back when I was an ambassador for them, and when I got it, it was gorgeous. It was part of their Rapunzel line. The Plaited Gold Tress is meant to be like her hair in a braid, and I was really excited to use this. Well, when I initially went to swatch this ink, I spilled it all over my paper, like all over it. Like the paper was just soaked. And it wasn't in a notebook. Luckily, it was like on a standard regular sheet of paper because I was going to use it for photography stuff. And yeah, so something about this bottle, for some reason, decided to just roll around on my desk and dump ink all over paper. Anyways, onto the color. Plaited Gold Tress is a nice kind of golden color. It's a bit more orangey, slightly more orangey than Hastings Caves, but the shimmer in it is multi-tonal, so it looks really interesting with all of the colors kind of combined together. It is beautiful. However, it is dry. This is one of the drier inks from Ferris Press that I've experienced, and I'm not a super big fan of the color anymore. Initially when I got it, I was really happy with the color, but now after I've used it enough, and maybe since it traumatized me by spilling all over paper, I'm not a huge fan anymore. But it's pretty, and yeah, I want to include it because it definitely is a golden color. Next up, we have a new ink to me, courtesy of Kara. Thank you so much for sending this my way. This is Nagasaki's Castella. And again, I have not put this one in a pen yet, so I can't attest to how it behaves in that. But color-wise, it's a beautiful golden color. To me, this is if like Golden Sands by Diamine, Hastings Caves by Van Diemen's, and a little bit of Fortune's Gold by Diamine got all mixed together and became this ink. It is a bit deeper than Hastings Caves, which I really like, and the shimmer in it is a bit more of a darker golden color, which is also really nice. And yeah, it's just a really great golden color. I'm excited to play around with this one a bit more. Maybe it will become a new favorite gold ink, who knows? But it definitely deserves to be here, and I'm really excited to have this addition to my collection. Okay, the last couple of inks here are a bit more of like an orangey gold color. Again, we're going for range here. And this is part of the Colorverse color event from 2024. This is Christmas Star, and this is actually one of the inks that was selected as a winner. So you can now get this ink in a larger bottle by itself. I have sent samples to this one, that's why this is so empty, but it's a gorgeous ink. And Christmas Star was kind of like the saving grace for that color vent for me, not gonna lie. When we got to the end, I was ready to be done. Anyways, Christmas Star is a gorgeous golden orangey color. It definitely has a very strong yellow orange base, but the shimmer in it is very bright. I think it's great. It's legible and vibrant and just kind of a fun golden color that's a bit unique. I think there's a couple of other ones that are similar to this that I didn't have time, or didn't have space, I should say, to include. Pannonia's Scriptus something comes to mind. It's from one of their older lines. And then there's another one by Robert Oster. I think it's like a fiery ink. If you think you can come up with the names that I'm blanking on, please put them down in the comments. Anyways, Christmas Star is beautiful. The flow on this ink is really nice too, and it's just a nice kind of orangey gold color. Again, giving range to our palette here, just to include a little bit more extra dimension. And the last ink we are going to end on is, yet again, another Van Diemen's ink. And this is from the Night series. So I feel like every single one of their series has a golden color in it. At least that's kind of what I found so far. Anyways, this is Golden Orb Web. It's from a spider that it's based off of, and kind of creeps me out a little bit, but it's a really fun golden color. And this ink is probably the brightest yellow of the group, but it is still equally golden because of the shimmer inside of it. It has a nice like white gold shimmer. It's very light color, and it mixes really well with the bright yellow base. Again, kind of going for range here. This ink isn't necessarily gold to me just because I feel like it's really bright, but I wanted to include it because we need, again, multiple shades here, and with the orangey yellow I felt like we needed the bright yellow too, and so that's why this ink is included. It's beautiful. The flow on it's really nice. However, it's very bright and can definitely be illegible. I had success with this in a stub nib for a very short stint. I think I had it in that pen for maybe like 2 days, but it's very bright. It's a great summery ink. It's like sunshine yellow with a little bit of sparkle in there. It's a great star yellow. Like if you're a teacher and you want to draw like golden stars all over your kids' pages, this is definitely a really good ink for that. It's very bright and cheery, but yeah. Okay, with that, I am talked out for the moment. We have 24 inks here. This is a lot of ink, guys. I'm gonna let this corner over here finish drying, and then I will come back probably in about 15 minutes and see how we're doing, and I'll end up zooming in and doing some close-ups like I normally do in my videos. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a minute and we'll talk about some more golden inky type of things. Okay, I am back. Everything has pretty much dried down. There's like one wet spot on this ink here, so I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in and we're gonna do some close-ups. So starting with our first ink here, which was Ambre de Birmaine by J. Herbin. It is definitely an orangey based gold brown color. I say in writing it's much more gold than in the swatch. In the swatch it becomes much deeper because of all the shading. It's very dry, not my favorite, but I felt it needed to be included. Next we have Diamine's Three Kings from the 2022 Green Ink Vent edition. Love this ink for a yellow color. As you can see in writing, it is much lighter. The shading in the swatch pulled through a lot stronger than I was expecting, but it does have a nice kind of golden range of tones, probably from like a medium brown to a bit more of like that yellow gold brown color. Really nice. I like the flow on this one too. It's definitely one of my favorite yellow inks out there. Next we had Ina Ho, which probably isn't super golden, but it is a nice kind of yellowy brown color, so could be gold on that respect. It is also a discontinued ink, and I really wanted to compare it to some of the other more golden colors on these pages, and I think we have a couple that might be able to replace it, maybe. And after that we did Vinta's Bronze Yellow, a really nice golden color, lovely shading. I feel like in writing this one shows up much more gold than maybe some of the other ones, just because it does have that range of shading from a bit more of like a yellow tone to a deeper medium brown. Really nice flow on this one too. The shading is really just phenomenal on this ink. Then we had Van Diemen's Neptune's Necklace. I love this ink. It's very close to Ina Ho for me. It's just slightly warmer, slightly browner. It's not really an exact dupe, but the idea is there for me, which I like. This ink is also slightly dry, but not as dry as like this Herbin ink up here. The color of this is really nice, kind of like sandy medium brown as well. Could be a great gold without shimmer, and that's definitely why I wanted to include it. Then we have Tiger Snake, which I think is the closest Ina Ho dupe I have on the pages here. And this ink is beautiful, has really nice shading, slight hint of green to it, and just is a really nice kind of deeper gold color. Really nice for like a shaded area or anything like that. Then we had Old Gold by KWZ, the last non-shimmering gold ink that I put on here. Definitely the best out of all of them, I would say, for an actual gold color if you're looking for something that is gold with no shimmer. Just again, be warned with the KWZ inks, they do have a scent. It is kind of like a sweet vanilla smell, so if you're sensitive to smells, keep that in mind. Then we have a Diamine Golden Sands. Gorgeous gold toned ink. It is a bit light in writing, but I think for artistry purposes, it's very well for a gold color. It's kind of perfect, actually. It is a bit more yellow, so if you wanted something more yellowy gold versus like a white gold or a brassy gold, I think this is a nice kind of in between of both of those. Then we have Fortune's Gold, also by Diamine. This is from an ink vent, I think the purple one, and it has this duochrome shimmer. Whoa, that clipped off really fast. There it is. So you can see that kind of like teal color that it has there, and then in flat view it's gold. So it has that multi-tonal shimmer, and it makes the ink look a little bit more green than it actually is. The base of this is almost like a yellow olive color. I don't want to call it like an acid yellow, but it could even be considered more like an acidy yellow color. Then we have Diamine's Salted Caramel, another Diamine ink vent ink here. This one's a beautiful kind of brassy gold. I like the soft beige back of this. It's very similar though to several other inks I have on the pages here, much like that of Monarca's Rey Jaguar, which is what we did next. Love this ink, and surprisingly it is more legible to me than some of the other ones. It has a really nice golden shimmer. I do think this one, I don't know, I can't find where they sell more of it, so if you know, let us know. Anyways, let's move on. Then we had the Ferris Press Sparkling Champagne, very similar to Rey Jaguar, but a bit more orange in tone, I would think, slightly, very slightly. And I think the flow on these two are pretty much the same, honestly. So yeah, I also think Sparkling Champagne may be a discontinued Ferris Press ink, which is also kind of a bummer. Then we had Ferris Press's Age of Auburn, or Aurum, or I don't know how to pronounce that word, I'm sorry. It's definitely the darkest, I think, gold, actual gold color here. The base of this is a bit more of like a deeper brown color with a golden shimmer. The shimmer is very, very fine on this one too, so it'd be really well done for the shading area of and kind of artistry you're doing with gold. So like, let's say we have a pictured gold ring. The deeper inside of the ring could easily be this color and still be shining and golden. Then we have my absolute favorite gold ink, and that is Robert Oster's Heart of Gold. This ink is just like writing with liquid gold. Just, I love it so much. It's bright, and I don't know, it's more chromy gold maybe. Maybe that's why it looks the best in writing to me. But I will say these inks do have a bit chunkier of a shimmer, so they are known to clog pens. I personally keep this one in my Jinhao X159, which I talked about while I was swatching this, but I want to talk about it again. So if you're going to use a shimmer ink from Robert Oster, in my experience, you need a pen that can hold really chunky shimmer, and that's going to be a pen with a very large feed. That's been my success for all of my shimmer inks that are stubborn. You need a really large feed. Anyways, let's move on. We have Diamine Cocoa Shimmer next, which isn't necessarily gold, but I wanted to include some legible options here. And surprisingly, this is close to the Ferris Press Age of Aurum, or whatever that's called. It is definitely a bit more of a warmer red-brown with a golden shimmer that's a bit stronger, I would say, a bit chunkier maybe. Love this ink, very legible, one of my favorites from 2024. And definitely wanted to include it to have, again, a more legible writing option that's kind of golden, but it definitely, I don't know, I feel like this one doesn't really fit as a golden ink. Then we had Vinta's Burnt Sugar. Similar reason it's here is the same as Cocoa Shimmer. This is definitely more of a brown-black version of it, though. You might be able to see a little bit of that green sheen popping through in this ink as well. And the shimmer in this one is a bit finer, so I feel like it disperses a little bit better than the Cocoa Shimmer. Like, more of the shimmer pulls through in the writing, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because you can see it a lot more here. Anyways, keeping on with this, we had Journalize Orion's Dreamy Stars, the perfect white gold ink. I literally picked this up on a whim because of the books I'm reading, and I love it. I definitely want to put it in a pen soon. It's absolutely gorgeous. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Diamine's Dusted Truffle, though, just not as, I'd say, green, a little bit more yellow. Anyways, Bookkeeper's Brass by Ferris Press is another one I included here, and I think this one is the closest to the Ferris Press Salted Caramel. I just feel like they're almost identical. I don't know. They're so close together. Bookkeeper's Brass is definitely a bit more of like a rough golden color or a brassy gold. It's really well done. I prefer this one over the Sparkling Champagne. It's also a bit deeper, a bit more legible, and it's just really nice. It's kind of similar to Heart of Gold too in color, just the shimmer is much finer and the ink is not as dark. Then we had Wearingeul's Psyche Poly. This ink is just cool, and I don't know, I want to love it, but I can't because it's too light. The shimmer in this is iridescent. It's gorgeous. It's so pretty. It's very similar to the Fortune's Gold that has kind of a bluish look to it, but the base of the ink is a bit more of like that pale yellow, and the shading, as you can see here, is almost like an orangey color. It's very pretty. In writing, it looks a little bit more of like a soft gold, so I would consider this a bit more of like a highlighting gold color, like a lighter edge to the gold. Again, more of a white gold situation, similar to that of the Orion Dreamy stars up there. Then we have Van Diemen's Hastings Caves, my second favorite golden ink. It's so perfect because it's like a bright gold. And I love the shimmer on this because it's a more champagne-y color. So it's like a finer gold color, like a fine jewelry gold. And this one, for some reason too, I can read, but it's not super legible for it being a lighter ink. I don't know. For some reason I can read this one. I don't know. My brain is funny that way. Anyways, then we had Ferris Press Plaited Gold Tress. Hey, that rhymed. This one again has that kind of duochrome shimmer thing going on. There's a bit more of like that golden bluish hue right there. It's similar to the Fortune's Gold, but it's again more orange, I would say, and it also is a bit dry. Then we had Nagasaki's Castella, one of the newer inks to me, and I definitely like the tone of this. After seeing these all dried together, it gives me hope that if it's still available, it'd be similar to like the Sparkling Champagne or the Rey Jaguar over here, because it is a bit more of like that lighter beigey yellow with the golden shimmer. It's really, really pretty. Another ink I should probably be putting in a pen pretty soon. Then we ended off with a couple more orangey golden inks, and we had Christmas Star by Colorverse, which was last year's finale to the color event. Definitely doesn't look as gold as I remember. I think the shimmer in it really is just what makes it very golden. But if you were doing like a sunshine goldy color, I think this is really nice, or like stars or anything that involves, I would say, the sky. This is a good golden color for that. And then same thing here with the Golden Orb Web, from Van Diemen's. I think this is another nice kind of brighter yellow gold color that would be good for stars or sky, or like I gave the example, if you're a teacher, drawing some golden stars on your A student kids papers. Yeah. All right, that was a lot of inks. I'm not gonna lie, I am a bit tired after this, but I do want to show you guys the backs of the papers just because I've been having fun doing that, so you can see if there's any kind of other colors that pull through. I will say on this Sanzin Tomoe paper, it has been doing okay with the swatching. I guess I got a good batch in the blank notebook here, but I'm kind of scared that, you know, I'm getting to the back of the pages here and I don't know what my next notebook's gonna be, guys. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have a golden ink that I did not include on this page, on these pages, definitely let us know down in the comments. I would love to hear about it. There's tons of ink out there, thousands, honestly. And this is just a snapshot into the ones that I personally have. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to Rose Gold / Copper, probably coming next week. And then I also have some other really fun things coming soon ink-wise after that has been highly requested, so stay tuned. Anyways, be blessed, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.